a parasitic Psyduck, a cannibalistic Poliwrath, a Hoot-Hoot with a nose, and a Pikachu who looks like he just committed a murder. Despite Pokemon's family-friendly appeal, talented fans throughout the years have created some of the most frightening, unsettling, or just straight-up bizarre pieces of art inspired by the franchise. So, here's a look at some artists who've created creepy pieces of Pokemon art. The first batch of utterly disturbing art literally dominates half of the search results simply by typing in creepy Pokemon art. Not only do they dominate the image section, but have even had several articles written about them throughout the years, and for good reason. With over 100 unique illustrations, focused primarily within the Kanto region, you're bound to find one that ruins a childhood favorite Pokemon. How about the face of the franchise, Pikachu, whose iconic yellow fur has become tattered and mangy, greeting you, their trainer, with two sets of gnarled, dagger-like teeth and eyes so bone-chilling it's as if it could paralyze with just its gaze alone. Or perhaps another cute and furry Pokemon, Vulpix, whose open jaw and sharpened claws suggest it's devouring the head of its decapitated trainer, perhaps the result of pushing it too hard during battle. What about Jigglypuff, whose sinister grimace and sunken eyes suggest its next song will be the one that's sure to put you to sleep, permanently? And of course, it wouldn't be complete without everyone's favorite trio, with Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle unable to escape the nightmare treatment as well. The list goes on, with one man behind it all, David Szilagyi, a concept artist who combined his love for Pokemon and the book series, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Szilagyi's project appears to have originated a decade ago in May of 2016, with Ivysaur and the Bulbasaur evolutionary tree appearing as his earliest posts, fitting when you consider their placement in the Pokédex. His Nightmare Kanto series appears to have been created during a period in his life where he wanted to take a step back from creating art in a work environment and do it in a more independent, self-employed manner. Because of this, a March 2018 post indicates he had created a Patreon to support himself and the project over the past 2 years, but had no longer become feasible, and that Voltorb, his 100th creepy Pokemon, would be his last for some time while he figured things out. This would explain the considerable gap when fewer than 5 Pokemon would be created each year afterwards, like Cubone in December 2019, Lickitung in December 2020, and Coughing in January 2022. But fortunately for fans of Szilagyi, he's recently stated to be in a much better place in life, allowing him to resume his creepy Pokemon quest as of January 2025. One of the many cursed viral trends of digital illustration would have to be fictional characters rendered in a realistic art style. I vividly remember coming across some of these creepy portrayals of The Simpsons and Mario from Jax Pixelou, as well as Charlie Brown and the infamous SpongeBob and Patrick from Miguel Vasquez. And while those may have been created by different artists in different years, in 2009, one artist was already ahead of the curve when it came to depicting creepy real-life interpretations of Pokemon. Poliwrath, the first of the bunch, can be seen not with its lovable cartoonish appearance, but eyes as lonely and haunting as a black abyss, as if little galaxies are swirling inside. Speaking of swirls, its iconic belly symbol has been replaced with a spiral that leads to a tiny yet ravenous mouth, fresh with the blood of its victim. Its victim? An innocent little Poliwag who never stood a chance against Poliwrath's frightening fists, especially when you remember the Pokédex entries are always mentioning their extremely tough muscles. From a Mew reminiscent of a blind hairless cat, to an Oddish whose appearance is way worse than just being odd, and even Mr. Mime, who should never be allowed to exist in real-life form. With about 40 other unsettling renditions, Gavin Mackey, or Soup and Butter, is the mastermind behind this batch of creepy Pokemon drawings. And while real-life Pokemon fan art seems to be everywhere nowadays, Mackey's pieces are some of the earliest I could find online, which is the reason I wanted to highlight them. The cherry on top is that they were originally posted to DeviantArt, the online mecca for artists during the mid to late 2000s, so if that doesn't scream old, then I don't know what does. And while it's unfortunate Mackey appears to have been inactive since 2017, almost a decade at this point, all of their wonderfully unnerving Pokemon art can be found within their DeviantArt account. Some other notable favorites of mine include Gengar, with its piercing red eyes, Wobbuffet, who looks like they were once human, now turned evil spirit after being stuffed and sewn into a blue sack, Togepi, which I can't even begin to describe, and Jigglypuff again, whose uncanny appearance also feels nostalgic and comforting in a way, Like, I've seen this picture dozens of times throughout the internet over the years, and it takes me back to a funner, more simpler time, as strange as it may sound. Within the past several years, Pokemon card collecting has definitely exploded into one of the hottest and mainstream hobbies. And as fun as buying the cards may be, if you can find them, there's one problem every collector runs into: what to do with the buttloads of doubles you've accumulated over the years. For one artist, repurposing them into some of the most unexpectedly disturbing Pokemon art is certainly an option I don't think anyone expected. From Pikachu, noseless and teeth barred like that of a hungry zombie, to Turtwig, either screaming for its lost mother or because it just saw its own reflection in the water, to Lovedisk, whose expression looks as though it's in constant pain just being alive, and Skitty, who looks thrilled to have you alone in the woods, too far for anyone to hear you cry for help. Even the trainers weren't spared this time, as Giovanni, a man known for his sinister reputation, has been giving an appearance so chilling it's sure to strike more fear into those who oppose him. If you thought David Zalagi's Pokemon were a childhood memory crusher, then these abhorrent renditions from Helen's deck are sure to obliterate. She even says so in her bio. Despite only 65 posts, scrolling through her feed feels as though we're browsing through a never-ending supply of these demonic creatures, with far too many to highlight. Although, there are common design elements shared amongst her creepy Pokemon, such as replacing beaks or snouts with long, pointy, witch-like noses, eyes with tiny black pupils that sit sunken around heavily shaded sockets, and widely stretched mouths with teeth arranged like that of a human. It's as though Helen is portraying what every Pokemon would look like after swallowing the moon from Majora's Mask, which I can't say I've come across any other artists do before. In terms of her process, she appears to coat a card in multiple layers of white acrylic paint, which I imagine is a very painstakingly slow process, creates a sketch of the horrifying face, and traces over it in detail with micron inking pens. So, whether you're on the side of her comments who desperately crave more, or those who can't stand to watch Pokemon cards get defaced, there's no denying her plethora of appalling Pokemon is, undoubtedly, a terrifying sight to behold. Chances are, you won't come across this final group of images simply by typing in creepy Pokemon art, which, unlike the other three artists, isn't even their purpose, but rather the unintentional style of the artist behind them. The artist, Catherine Bernhardt, has openly admitted to being inspired by logos, characters, and other elements of pop culture nostalgia from her childhood. Although, in an interview, she stated her desire to paint Pokemon stemmed from her son's obsession with card collecting that began around 2020, likely the result of the card boom seen during the COVID-19 pandemic. The best way to describe Catherine's painting conventions upon looking at her work is a chaotic, abstract stream of consciousness quality, as if nothing is planned prior to the paint hitting the canvas. Its loose, organic, and childlike characteristics are also reminiscent of graffiti and underground styles of art, which she creates with spray paint and heavily watered-down acrylics. Catherine has created hundreds of pieces, so it's unlikely to know for sure how many Pokemon pieces she's completed throughout her career. I mean, there are even some with Pikachu posing next to Elmer's glue. But what is certain are their equally deranged appearances, with splattered eyes, dripping flesh, and crazy faces. Almost all of these Pokemon could have been pulled straight from the psych ward. But while the other artists likely made their creepy Pokemon as non-commercial illustrations, Catherine has not only sold prints of these for tens of thousands of dollars, but has even had these pieces appear in gallery exhibitions, most notably one at the David Zwirner Gallery in Hong Kong. Once I learned this, I did find myself asking how Bernhardt is able to paint not just Pokemon, but so many intellectual properties without repercussions. I mean, I highly doubt any of these companies, especially Nintendo, would allow her to legally depict their copyrighted properties. I know there are loopholes in fair usage and parody laws, but I don't see how any of them could be applied to Catherine's practice, especially when the source material isn't even being altered at all in some instances, as she paints one-to-one recreations of existing trading cards, even if they are in her crazy style. One could argue the very nature of her crude and abstract style is naturally transformative enough in itself where she can bypass legal repercussions, but I'd say otherwise. Regardless, between cursed fan art from a DeviantArt user in 2009 to a 51-year-old woman inspired by her son's card collection, and everyone in between, the lasting impact of Pokemon throughout the world has transcended generations for 30 years, and will likely continue for many more to come.